Economists largely believe that free and competitive markets will find their way to a market price or an equilibrium price. That the price of the good will be determined by the market at a level where the amount buyers want to buy comes into balance with the amount sellers want to sell. Is there any evidence for this? Well, hey, I got a little something here. Hey, Google Maps lets you look at gas prices for some particular locality. And I pulled this up here. Look at this. Check this out. We got the gas here in Bowling Green, Kentucky. What do we got? We got Shell at $3.90 a gallon, Kroger Fuel Center at $3.90 a gallon, Shipley Service Station $3.90 a gallon, Marathon $3.90 a gallon, Speedway $3.90 a gallon. And yeah, there's a couple outliers here. Way over here at Hux, it looks like $3.60. Way up here at BP, it's $3.80. But man, that is a trend. They're all charging the same price. Why are they all charging the same price or very close to the same price? And do we have a way of modeling this behavior? Of course, you already know we have an explanation for why this happens. We have a model to describe it. Let's do it. Let's get into that.
So what is equilibrium in a supply and demand model? What does it look like and why does it occur? Well, let's take a look. Well, let's start with our basic supply and demand model. And just for an example, let's consider the market for gasoline. So we'll start with a graph. Just a simple graph. And let's go ahead and we'll put price on the y-axis and quantity on the x-axis. So remember, the price, of course, is in dollars, and quantity, of course, is the number of units produced. So we've got price on the y and quantity on the x. Now we need our representation of the sellers and of the buyers. The sellers we represent with an upward sloping supply curve. Why is it upward sloping? Of course, that's our law of supply. As price increases, sellers want to sell more. And the buyer's preferences we represent our buyers with a downward sloping demand curve. Of course, it's downward sloping because of the law of demand. The law of demand. As price falls, buyers want to buy more. An inverse relationship between quantity demanded and price. So now we've got our upward sloping supply curve and our downward sloping demand curve. And of course we can see that these are going to come together at a point here, which you guys may already know we call equilibrium. But the question kind of becomes, okay, yeah, we've got this equilibrium point, but why is it that we end up at this kind of somewhat mystical or magical equilibrium price, which we might label P star, and equilibrium quantity, which we might label Q star? Why is it that we would have an equilibrium price for gas in a particular gasoline market? Well, think about it like this. Is this price handed to our gasoline sellers, our gas stations? Are they given the price from on high? I mean, how is the price set in our society? Does, the president pick up the phone and call the local marathon owner and say, hey, you need to price a gallon of gas at $3.50 a gallon, that's the price? Of course not. Does God come to this local marathon owner in his sleep through a dream and say, hey, you need to charge $4 a gallon? Is that how it works? Well, no. So what is going to drive us to this equilibrium price? What is the pressures, or what are the things that are going to do that? Well, let's imagine our local marathon owner. He's thinking, I want to make some money. I want to make a bunch of money. And there's some equilibrium price of gas. We don't know what it is. And I'm thinking, I want to make a bunch of money. I'm going to charge a high price, so I'll make more money. So I'm going to charge, let's say, $7 for a gallon of gas. And he wants to sell gas at $7 a gallon. So he puts it up on his sign, $7 a gallon. Well, at that price, our seller wants to sell a bunch. He wants to sell all kinds of gasoline, quantity supply. But at that price, are buyers going to be super stoked to buy gasoline at that $7 a gallon price? Well, no, they're probably going to want to go buy from somebody else. Now, this is a market, and I'm using an individual seller to represent the market. Is that perfect? I mean, probably not. But just go with me on the example so we get the vibes. We get the thought process here, okay? So we got this seller. He wants to sell at $7 a gallon. Well, he wants to sell way more than buyers want to buy at this particular price. So quantity supplied exceeds quantity demanded. What is that? What do we call that? When there's more sellers who want to sell than buyers who want to buy, we call that a surplus. So we've got a surplus in this case, okay? Well, what is that? Okay, we've got surplus, but what does that mean? Well, that means he's got the $7 out there on the sign. He's got gasoline ready to go. It's underneath his gas station. He's got orders piling up. He's already sent the orders out. He's so excited to sell all this gas. He's got trucks showing up, but he's already full of gas. He's got nobody buying gas from him. There's so much gas. There's gas in the truck. There's gas underneath the gas station. There's gas everywhere. Nobody's taking it. Nobody's coming to buy the gas. So what's going on here? And he thinks to himself, I've got way more than people want to buy. What does that tell him to do? There's gas everywhere, but no buyers. What do I need to do? Of course, you're all screaming. What's he need to do? He needs to lower the price. So he thinks, all right, slashing prices. I'm going to lower my price from $7. I really need to get rid of some gas here, so let's set the new price at $2.50 for a gallon of gas. And he sets his new price here at $2.50. Well, what about at this $2.50 price for a gallon of gas? Well, at this new price, people are showing up. People are buying his gas. In fact, people are buying so much gas that it's really more gas than he wants to sell at this super duper low price. Over here, the amount buyers want to buy at this price, quantity demanded, exceeds the amount sellers want to sell at this price, quantity supplied. You can picture it. If somebody here in town listed gas right now for $2.50 a gallon, okay, maybe, I don't know when you're watching this, but at this moment, gas is quite a bit higher than $2.50 a gallon. What's going to happen? You can picture it. There's going to be a line. There's going to be people coming from all over the place to buy gas for $2.50 a gallon. The amount buyers want to buy is going to exceed the amount sellers want to sell. Well, what do we call that? There's more buyers than sellers. That's a shortage. So we take it together. We take these two forces together. Of course, what is this going to say? If there's buyers in line around the block trying to buy gas from this guy, and he's not excited about selling his gas, that's less than he really wants to sell it for. If he's got lots of buyers, what should he do? There's a shortage. He should raise his price. So the shortage pressure is telling him, hey, raise your price. And if he raises it too high, back to the $6, $7 range up here, then we'll get the surplus pressures. Nobody will buy gas. It's just sitting. So what does this do? The surplus pressures are going to push prices down, and the shortage pressures are going to push prices up until over time we expect that they'll tend to get towards some kind of equilibrium. Prices are going to be pushed up by shortage pressures as different buyers all compete with each other, putting upward pressure on price. Or if prices are too high for the market, then the sellers are going to have to compete with one another. There's going to be these surplus pressures pushing prices down. So between these two forces, we expect the equilibrium price, the price of this gas, is going to be somewhere in between. And hey, maybe that's something like $3.50 a gallon, because that's about what it sells for here in the actual gasoline market these days. So what are we getting at? Equilibrium is this idea, this magical point. Now it feels so ethereal, where the amount buyers want to buy comes into balance with the amount sellers want to sell at a market price, or a market clearing price, you'll sometimes hear it called. So why would this happen? Because of surplus and shortage pressures that are going to drive us towards some market resolving price. And this is going to be especially true in competitive markets. We'll talk about other kinds of markets later in the course, but this is especially true in competitive markets, when there's powerful competition, both between buyers and between sellers, right? So this is what equilibrium is all about. And hopefully we better understand why economists believe there will be such a thing as equilibrium. We'll stop it there for right now. Thank you, guys.